Oh, what is going on, Ada Nation? Welcome back to Dapp Central. My name is Fareed, and as always, not only are we keeping up with the latest news going on in Cardano, today I'm joined by N Melon, aka Nick, from DexHunter to break down everything that we're going to be expecting from this up and coming platform. Now, DexHunter is going to be a DEX aggregator, providing market alerts and a lot of additional features. And as a part of this video, I want to get it straight from the horse's mouth here from Nick as to what he's going to be bringing online. So thank you. Welcome. How are you doing today?
Thank you. I appreciate you having me. I think last time I was here was about a year ago with Jungle, so it's nice to be back. And yeah, it's nice to see people excited. And yeah, thank you.
Not a problem. I'm excited to see what you have going on and what you've learned over the course of the last year. So let's just go ahead and just jump right on in, man. What is DexHunter and how does it differ from Jungle Analytics?
For sure. So it's been a wild ride for the past year. We've been actually Jungle existed for 1.5 years since the December 2021, if I'm not mistaken, 2022. Sorry. So 1.5 years now. And we have built a bunch of tools from NFT sniping platform to portfolio and all the cool stats we had. But now, recently, for about half a year, the sort of a DeFi boom and DeFi on Cardano started picking up steam. And I was always looking like, what's the next step for the platform? What can we do? Where can we advance? And it kind of sort of came natural with the rebranding I planned for a long time. Because initially, like we built so much features and so much stuff that at one point it became too confusing for the user. So back in the day when we just started, it was purely you got NFT sniping, it was just like one thing, and then you got some stats. That was about it. But when you build on top on the product throughout months, at one point you just realize that nobody understands what's going on. If you're a new user to the platform, you're going to be so confused of like what do you need, how do you start? So I realized that, and I was really looking for a transition and how to like tie all the features together. So it was a natural move to rebrand, to start a bit from scratch, while bringing some of the best things we had before, and adding because crypto lifespan is like 2 weeks. So we wanted to implement new things that came throughout the months and new tech, while keeping all the best stuff that we had before. But in short, the DexHunter is going to be the DEX aggregator primarily, and other stuff, for example, the market alerts about unusual activity are going to be enhancing that experience. So in the ideal flow, you get an alert, then you'll be put through the DEX aggregator to make your trades. So it's going to work together. And we're also going to migrate our NFT snapping platform from before as just a part of the offering. And obviously there's a lot more things that we want to build on top of that, or to avoid the previous mistakes that I just mentioned. I want to first make the initial offering bulletproof, make the initial features as best as they can possibly be, and only then add things on top. So yeah, that's about it.
Thank you for the introduction. And I have to give you kudos for being such a transparent platform operator. About a week or two ago, I came across a thread that you released to the general Cardano community, basically breaking down some of the mistakes and some of the things that you've learned over the last year. Obviously, you could have kept those things to yourself, but you were nice and humble enough to share that with the general Cardano community. I think number one, that really showed that you are committed to the space. But then number two, transparency. We don't get a lot of projects that are willing to own some of the things that maybe they've put out that have not worked. Obviously, you put in a lot of time into building Jungle Analytics. I actually used it for quite a bit of time. And to an extent, even up until now, I try to do my best to incorporate it whenever I can. Now, at one point, you guys had even integrated into JPEG.store, which was, I think, huge, right, for what you guys were building. But again, going back to that post that you made, you basically broke down everything that you thought could be done better. So I think, like you said, this is going to be an opportunity for you to leverage everything that you've learned over the entire lifespan of Jungle Analytics and basically come out with a fresh start and begin to build, but this time with a much better understanding of the space. I think this is ideal. And even for myself as a content creator, I can look back at my first pieces of content and I'm just like, man, I wish I would have known X, Y, and Z. And there's so many things that I've learned across the way.
Mhm.
So I think it's a natural transition, and I'm happy to hear that, you are going to be leveraging that. And so let's maybe, jump into what exactly, will be some of the core things that that DexHunter will be offering. So you mentioned the Dex aggregator and market alerts, but as a part of that tweet thread, you'd mentioned some key core offerings. So do you mind breaking down, what we can expect as part of the services, that we'll be getting on the launch of DexHunter?
For sure. And just to add to that point, I think it's essential to like reflect on general what you're doing and what you're building, because what happens sometimes that you get so stuck on the idea or on the feature that you want to push that throughout the months things change in the crypto space and maybe what you're building is not relevant anymore. So it's essential to from time to time just look back and look at the current state of market to realize that, well, maybe my product is not relevant anymore or not as relevant as it was when I just started building it or when I got the idea first. So that's basically exactly what happened. Like that's exactly what happened to me, and I just reflected and I just figured that, well, that is what I did wrong, and I think it's essential to share this knowledge in the community because there's so many new founders, so many new projects, and it's kind of like, yeah, sometimes I do share the knowledge on my Twitter, and yeah, people provided very good feedback as well. It's very well received. But back to the features, as I said, the primarily thing is going to be the DEX aggregation. So we want to build the smoothest, the most optimized DEX aggregator there is, which is going to have things like DEX splitting, for example. It is when you create a transaction and multiple different DEXs have enough liquidity and very fewer market impact, so you'd get more tokens and you would split your transactions, your initial input between them in one go. So that's one of the core features we focus on. And then on top of that, I want to add the market alerts, and we recently partnered with Cerberus as well for that. So what that basically means is, I actually have an example, a very recent example. For example, when the XRP got the partial win in the case, in the SAC case, there was unusual spike in volume. This is a very simple example, but like usually volume is an indicator of either some news or activity, and on that spike, even without knowing the news, a lot of traders just bought XRP or long the XRP with leverage and profited from that even without knowing the news, just because they had the setup of knowing where the unusual activity happens in the markets. And there are a lot of trackers people use to monitor small or big cap coins for that unusual activity. Volume is the simplest example, but there are many, many more metrics you can actually track. And one of the essential parts is like getting to know about the unusual activity first, and then executing the transactions first as well. So we want to cover both flows, both the information flow and both the execution flow. That's why I think the alerts and DEX aggregation goes very, very well together, because if we can notify you about some event rapidly in the shortest possible amount of time from the event happening, and also giving you an ability to execute the trade in the shortest amount of time possible with the most optimized trade as well, so you get the most tokens for your ADA, for example. I think that covers the majority of short trading flow, and that's the core focus. And additionally, because we had this NFT sniping platform built up already from Jungle, I think it's just natural for us to add it, and a bit simplified how it worked, a bit redesigned. But also NFT sniping goes well with the alerts too, because same unusual activity happens on NFTs, same things happen. So it kind of all goes together, like, because DEX aggregation is basically sniping for tokens, and since we had already NFT sniping, alerts kind of connect both of them, because if you get the token alert, you can trade on DEX aggregator, and then if you get NFT alert, then you can use NFT aggregator, but it's just called NFT sniping. So I think that's kind of the initial base offering, and we really want to focus on perfecting that. And Cerberus is an amazing team. I had a chat with them on Monday, and I'm really excited about to integrate their own analytics too for alerts. And they send me a list of the alerts they can offer us, and it's like incredible. So it's very complicated analysis, and you know, I don't want to like disclose exactly what those alerts are going to be, but it's very sophisticated stuff. So I'm super excited for, you know, the both flows. I think it covers a lot of things. So yeah.
So one thing that you mentioned that got my attention there was the Dex aggregation. From what I've seen so far when it comes to Dex aggregators, we're basically just given the platform that has the best price. Did I hear you correctly mention that you will be able to split orders amongst multiple dexes, or maybe did I just make that up there on my own?
Yeah, that's correct. That's our like core focus on of optimization, is splitting the transactions between dexes. So it's partial execution. So you can, for example, like if you want to trade 1,000 ADA for SNAP, and there's some liquidity on MinSwap and some liquidity on Sunday Swap. We calculate the price impact, we calculate the liquidity, we calculate as well current pending trades, and based on that information, we would calculate whether you need to split at all. Maybe you're just best off trading from one DEX. Sometimes that happens. However, in some cases, it's best to split. So, for example, your transaction would, you know, if you would get more tokens for your ADA, in this case, for example, it can go to 60% MinSwap and 40% to Sunday, and we execute that for you. And in the end, you just get, you know, tokens from both exchanges, basically.
That's huge. I don't think that I've seen any other platform that's offering aggregator features that's actually doing that, right? I think so far what we've seen in ecosystem has been aggregators that just point you to the best place. But as you are probably more than aware, if you're executing a large trade, that place might be the best place initially, but then as you actually begin to execute your trade, depending on slippage, the liquidity pool, you know, all of the available tokens, that could change as your trade is being executed. So I think what you're doing here with partial execution is going to be a first, but it also makes sense in the evolution of DEX aggregation moving forward, right? Because it's not necessarily that a particular DEX will be able to fill that entire order, giving you the best option throughout the entire size of that order. So very interesting to hear there, and really cool to know that that's going to be coming to Cardano.
Exactly. And we have a lot of DEXs right now, so it's going to be even more important going forward to have this partial execution, because I think it's going to be more harder and harder to track all the, you know, where the most liquidity is. That's it's kind of the simplest thing to track, but that's not always the best way to trade, because on that DEX there can be transactions already pending. So while it on the moment has the most liquidity, and on the moment it could have the most value for the trade, due to those pending transactions and many other factors, as you submit, it already may not be the best place. So it's very important to take like almost every factor into account, whether it's pending transactional liquidity, calculate it on the fly, and give the user the best value for his tokens and ADA. So that's the primary focus of all.
Cool. Again, thank you for that. One thing that I want to jump into, and this is, I think, a brief question, is going to be the orders and the NFT sniping. Will both of those apply to fungible tokens and NFTs, or is either one just focusing on a subset?
Could you a bit rephrase the question? What do you mean by orders specifically?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. The alerts. I mean, maybe I said orders, but I meant alerts. So when we're taking a look at instant market alerts, will those be for NFTs and Cardano native tokens or fungible tokens? And then the
Yes,
same
those
question
would be
with the
for
NFT
both.
sniping.
Those would be for both, yes, because well, there are different types of alerts. For example, the volume you can definitely do for both. You know, price limits, those are the simplest one. You can definitely do for both. Like for tokens, it's going to be just price, and for NFTs, this would be the floor. But however, for NFT sniping, the alerts we had customized, so you would be able to look for things like this collection with certain trades under the certain price, under the certain rarity, for example. So that was the part of our NFT sniping before, where like it was very heavily customized, and since we offered so much customization options, it also became confusing. So for this time, for the NFT sniping platform revamp, we would conduct sort of user feedback form for the previous users who use the platform a lot. And those users were the one that suggested to add all those features. But we now want to figure out like what are actually the most used ones, because we have obviously, I think, 300 or 400 running alerts right now for the old sniping platform. So it's like 400,000 alerts right now running for NFT sniping. So we have the data of what alerts exist and what like parameters people use. However, that may be not accurate because a lot of alerts have been set up like a year ago. So maybe those are not relevant, but people didn't remove it. So we just want to figure out what parameters people actually use the most, because the basic ones are like price, rarity, and traits. But there are many more you can do. So we can start with those 3 for sure, and then add whatever people ask. But for tokens, there will be probably 2 options to how to track alerts. There will be a default one where you'd get default notifications, for example, with the token like increased in price or has unusual volume. But I also want eventually to give user an ability to customize, for example, like alert me if the token reaches X price, or alert me if the token, like just about token actions. So the answer is both. Both alerts are going to be for NFTs and tokens. It's just like the difference is how user can customize that and the type of alerts. But we're for sure looking to bring the information to the user the fastest and the most accurate and the most sophisticated way too.
Interesting what you said about the community driving the adoption of the alerts that they wanted, and then almost driving it to the point where it was unusable, right? I think there's a certain level of input we have to be able to take from the community. But then again, like you mentioned, and probably like you felt, it was just too much and it just became too cumbersome.
So what happened exactly was back in the day, the snapping was kind of very niche, and it just started. We had to build the whole, the trust of the users. So we really wanted to like build the best product, so to hear what users think. And back in the day, we started with the base ones, was like price, rarity, and trade sniping. And then somebody asked, oh, how about we do like percentage of the price? And we call it harpoon. So you were able to alert if somebody lists an NFT below like 30% floor. So that was a thing. And then somebody's like, oh, how about we snipe the trade values now? So it's not just by trade, but for example, like the muesli cows, right? I believe this is the best example I can come up right now. They have a multiplier. So it's a trade that has a multiplier. It's basically a number. And people wanted to snipe this collection, and they asked to build the thing that would check the multiplier number. And that differs from the trade because there are like 100 multipliers. So you wouldn't set 100 multiplier as a list. You would have to like do a range. So throughout the years, through this user feedback, they were happy. But for the new user, when they approach the platform, they would see like 22 different types and 3 different hunt types, snipe types for hundreds of collections, and they'd be so confused. For the old users, it was great because they're like used to it, that they knew what they were doing. But there was, if I was just opening the platform for the first time, I would close it immediately because it was too much. And it's very hard to actually notice that while it happens, because in the moment you're like, your users are happy, and then somebody asks a question and you can answer it. So you don't really notice that until few people mention afterwards that, well, I tried it and it was just too confusing. And actually, I believe majority of people wouldn't ask a question, right? They would just be confused. They would think they're stupid, not the product is like too complicated. They would blame it on themselves and just leave. They wouldn't ask a question because some people may think that it's such an obvious question. Why am I asking that? Maybe it's just not for me. So I really want to avoid this. I really want to make the new version of this very, very user-friendly, so that everything is straightforward, everything is not confusing, not overwhelming. So it's a great learning experience for sure.
Yeah, I don't think there's ever anything wrong with trying to provide users of the platform value, but I do also agree with the mantra that sometimes simple is best. And as you're aware, crypto is already very difficult for some people to understand, especially if you don't have a technical background. And so sometimes providing users with so many options is kind of like when you're in a grocery store and you're going maybe for a can of soup or a can of pasta, and you've got 50 different choices, and now you end up spending, an hour or so, whatever, thinking about which one you want to buy, etc. Whereas if you just had one or two options,
Mhm.
you'd be able to make that choice a lot more quickly.
Exactly.
So
It's a great paradox. I really like it, but that's what I want to avoid for sure, and that's what we're striving for with the new platform. Yeah,
no, I think you're off to a good start. You've identified your core offerings, and that's actually what I want to jump into next. So you've mentioned already what you're going to be offering, which will be instant market alerts, DEX aggregation, and NFT sniping. Now, there has to be a way for you, or at least for the platform, to generate some sort of income to keep running. Do you mind talking about the way that people will be able to get access to the platform and maybe the pricing model associated with DexHunter?
for sure. So the platform, all those features that you mentioned, are going to be publicly available. However, for like some premium features, the advanced alerts, so we're going to be probably splitting it by types or by amount too. It would be accessed by holding X amount of token. So I really want to avoid the subscription model, and I just want to be very simple for people. So if you hold X amount of token, you'll have access to the premium features, and you don't have to have premium features to use the platform. It is more for people who, for example, are very extensive on NFT sniping. They want to have thousands of alerts, and of course that's that's very compute intensive for us. So that's why we would require some token held to access the platform features, the premium features. But about how the platform is going to generate revenue, that would be DEX aggregator fees. So there would be a fee on swap and on NFT sniping fee. So if you snipe from the alert from our platform, there would be some X amount of ADA fee for that too. So those are two primarily revenue drivers for the platform. So just swap fees.
Thank you. And I don't think that is unheard of. Even platforms, for example, like Wing Riders, Sunday Swap, all these other platforms, MinSwap, they have their own swap fees as well. Again, at the end of the day, I think people have to realize that crypto is made up of businesses, and these businesses need a way to stay funded and to continue running. That is going to take me into the next topic, which is going to be surrounding the Hunt token, if I'm not mistaken, and the potential tokenomics that we are expecting here for DexHunter. So number one, is the token actually going to be named Hunt? Has that changed over the course of the past few weeks? And then number two, when can we expect the tokenomics to drop?
Right. Yeah, I believe this token is going to be named the Hunt. I think it's very simple. I think it's very straightforward, and with the name DexHunter, I think it's very obvious to name it like this. And we've been naming like it was kind of the naming convention for Jungle, so we call the alerts hunts. You'll be able to set up hunts. I think it's a very nice thematic, and it's a nice transition from Jungle. So pretty sure it's going to be the name. And sorry, I was too excited about the name. What was the other two parts of
The
the question?
tokenomics.
The tokenomics. Right. So I don't want to rush tokenomics. That's why I have like almost a team of 5 right now polishing tokenomics and thinking about including factors of market conditions, about long-term sustainability of the projects, about user incentives. So we're really not rushing it. We're taking our time. And people ask about it every day. They are impatient, but we don't want to rush it because it's like one of the most important things for the project's long-term success. So we're taking our time. So I'm not gonna like give precise numbers right now. All of those are gonna be published in the article in maybe this week. We have to wait for a bit more calculation, so to say. But the token is going to be distributed mainly via presale, and in the article that I think you brought up as well, there's a small tokenomic part. Basically, we want to reward our previous holders and supporters, and to access the Jungle NFT sniping before, we had to have an NFT called Hunter Pass. So the Hunter Pass owners would have discounted and the first hand of the presale, but we also want to have a fair public round. So we want to reward our previous holders, but balance it out with the fair public launch. So all the details, all the precise numbers, and the supply and all this good stuff will be published in the tokenomics article in a bit, because we really want to take our time and make it thought through. But yeah, that's in short about the Hunt token.
Thank you for
Oh,
that.
I
Mhm.
think what I didn't add is the utility of the token, which is also the most important part, because tokenomics is important, but utility. So we had the chance to launch a token for a long time with Jungle. If we wanted to, it just to launch a token for the sake of launching a token, which is what I wanted to avoid at all costs. I didn't want to launch a token just for the sake of token, because I know what happens to those tokens. So we really took our time, and I, what for 2 years almost, was thinking how to actually like make a token do something and not just be governance or voting. So for the hunt, I described it in a light paper, but it's quite a straightforward utility. So the classic DEX token would have discounts on swap, discounts on NFT sniping. So if you hold a certain amount of token, you'd have a certain amount of discounts on the swaps through the platform. And also, as I mentioned, if you hold the next amount of token, you would access premium platform features, but you don't have to. Those are going to be just for power users if you would, for example, want unlimited alerts or something. And then there's there's a lot of utility planned after that, but I really would like to focus on those three things first and make them bulletproof, make them very polished before moving to other stuff. So I have tons of ideas, I have tons of plans, but this time we're doing the things like slowly and surely.
Um, there's definitely no rush. The Cardano community isn't going anywhere. Crypto isn't going anywhere. So take all the time that you need to provide the best utility. Because again, I think what you're trying to set up is something that's going to be a long-lasting platform. So there's never a need to rush in and get things out for the sake of getting them out. So thank you for breaking down some of the tokenomics and giving us a little bit of alpha surrounding the token utility. The very last thing I want to go ahead and actually briefly touch on is going to be the actual rebrand and the logo for DexHunter. So this was just released, I believe, less than 24 hours ago. Can you maybe talk a little bit about what this means, what it stands for, maybe a little bit about where the inspiration for the new rebrand has come from?
Yeah, I'm just in love with this logo. I think it's great. I think I wanted to be like, I really like cute stuff, right? I really like cute logos, but that are not too serious, like all those like flashy, super aggressive ones. I really wanted to be um, cute, but not too cute, so that people will take it seriously. So that's kind of mix of it, and I really like, for example, how Minswap does it. They have this like cute cat as logo, and then they bring all the illustrations and all the articles in this sense. So they have more serious cat for illustrations, but a very cute cat for a logo. So it's like inspired one part from that, and we were trying to pick the actual animal for so very long. So we wanted to go first with default cats, which is lion or panther or cheetah, but they ended up being either too edgy or not, like, or too basic, because like there are a lot of logos with cats. There's a lot of logos with lions especially. So we wanted it to be unique yet cute, yet sort of memeable, yet reused in more serious ways. So it's like it encompasses all that in one. And this is a dragon. A lot of people said it's a T-Rex. It looks like a T-Rex, but it's not, because it has wings, so it is obviously a dragon. Initially, it actually had um, on the tail. It had a bow because it's a hunter. So we wanted to put a bow on the tail, but it became too crowded. So we ended up just going with just an arrow. I think it's just a very neat logo. It's very minimalistic, and it has all those nice elements like the tail arrow, so it goes up, because we all know the crypto only goes up. So I think it's overall great, and I'm in love with it, frankly. So it really fits my personality, and hopefully that it's gonna fit the platform as well.
Yeah, I agree. I like it very, very much. Like you said, it's different, right? It's not the usual ape or cat like you mentioned. And I really like the subtle blues as well. I like what you guys have put together here. So shout out to you and the designer that have put this together. I'm excited to see what you guys are going to be bringing to the space here very soon. So we are going to wrap this up, Nick. Is there anything that you want to share with the community here that you have not gotten a chance to talk about?
Um, I don't think so, actually. I think we're trying to dose the information want to publish the most important stuff first and keep a bit of suspense. So I think I mentioned everything I wanted, and really appreciate you having me here.
Not a problem. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here directly from Nick and Melon himself. Make sure to go ahead and give him a follow on Twitter, as well as the DexHunter platform on Twitter as well. They are growing very quickly. And as you guys just saw, they will be launching very, very soon. I think that is going to wrap it up here for today's video. Again, breaking down DexHunter, which is going to be a Dex aggregator coming to Cardano with partial fills, market alerts, and so much more. If you guys want more information surrounding the launch on their platform, their tokenomics, etc., I'll go ahead and leave the links to everything that you guys need to know down in the description below. As always, for the viewers, if this is your first time stopping by the channel, you guys appreciate content like this, you find it to be helpful or useful in any way, shape, or form, I'd appreciate it if you guys could tap that like button. If it's your first time stopping by the channel and you want more content like this surrounding all the builders in Cardano, consider subscribing. And if you guys have any questions for myself or Nick surrounding DexHunter, then as always, make sure to go ahead and drop a comment down below. That said, we'll catch you guys in the next video.